Sports Afield magazine. The Shooting Sports America. Brought to you by Remington Arms, Blunt Sporting Equipment Division, and Chevy Truck.
Hi, I'm Gresham, shooting editor of Sports Afield magazine, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 1992 National Fall Muzzleloading Championship here in Friendship, Indiana, where more than 3,000 muzzleloading enthusiasts from throughout the country have gathered for this competition. From matches that replicate the skill of the frontiersmen to those that demonstrate the incredible accuracy of these muzzleloading rifles, it's all happening here on the 500-acre home grounds of the National Muzzleloading Rifle Association. We'll be right back with all the action. The spark from a flint and a cloud of white smoke, a Kentucky long rifle. It's a sight and sound as much a part of America's frontier as the crackle of an open fire and the bite of a sharp axe. Whether in the wooded valleys of the Appalachians or on the high peaks of the Rockies, the muzzleloading rifle made possible the settlement of a wilderness continent. But these guns were not ordinary tools. Many, such as these Kentucky or Pennsylvania rifles, were uniquely American designs and reflected the engineering and artistic skills of early American craftsmen. And for frontiersmen or mountain men, such rifles provided an opportunity to demonstrate the marksmanship skills of an era when rifle matches were truly the national sport of a young America. The spirit of that early competition and the authentic recreation of our colorful frontier era are captured today here at the primitive village encampment at Friendship. And with me is Sharon Cunningham, magazine editor for the National Muzzleloading Rifle Association. Sharon, this is really something. It's almost as if we went back in time 200 years.
Yes, it is, Grits. It's a perfect example of people from all walks of life and from all over the world, as a matter of fact, to come together and share an interest in our early American history. The living history encampment here depicts a way of life from the period of pre-1840.
I understand you also have competitions that involve period firearms, period dress, and period equipment.
Yes, we do, and it's an interesting part and an important part of what the people do here. The Mountain Man Aggregate is a competition of not only shooting, but skills of fire making, tomahawk and knife throwing. An axe blade is buried into a log. Clay birds are mounted on each side, and you have to split the ball on the axe blade and break the target. All kinds of competitions, called novelty competition, I suppose.
Basic appeal has to do with slowing down and getting a little connection to the past. Though many of us who shoot muzzleloaders were kind of weaned on the old Daniel Boone series and Davy Crockett and like the study of history. And muzzleloaders take you back in time, make it so that you can pretend just a little bit that you're back when things were a little slower and simpler and an interesting time in history.
That's probably why a lot of the people come down here, for the history of it and smelling the black powder and being trying to be authentic into a certain time period.
An old country fiddle playing an old country tune. It sets the stage and the mood for a time when buckskins and a flintlock rifle, when a canvas tin and an open fire were a part of everyday life in America. For the many thousands of muzzleloading enthusiasts who come to the primitive encampment here at Friendship each year, the color and the spirit of the American frontier era is not just a chapter out of a history book. It is truly a part of their lives. How and why have so many gotten involved?
We first got into muzzleloading about 12 years ago. Some friends of ours got married in front of their teepee and got us all excited about it. That's when we started.
The biggest thing is the people. You meet a large variety of people from just about all walks of life. And it's very comfortable and laid back. no rush to go anywhere, and just run across people and sit around and talk, enjoy yourself, and do a little trading, and come across things that you kind of wanted to always have and couldn't, and you can almost always trade for what you want. Everything that you see here, I've either traded for or made myself. I can't honestly think of anything that I bought.
I come down to see a lot of people from different parts of the country that, you know, I only get to see down here or at other functions like this. You know, it's a good time.
The arts and crafts, the black powder shooting, and authentic lifestyle of early 19th century America are, of course, a big part of this muzzleloading event. But there's a lot more, from competition with incredibly accurate bench rest muzzleloading rifles to events for authentic muzzleloading rifles, pistols, and shotguns. We'll be right back to take a look. We often think of muzzleloaders as antiques or relics, but there's certainly nothing old-fashioned about Webb Terry's black powder target rifle. Well, Webb, I've seen a lot of Kentucky rifles, muzzleloaders in my time, but there's nothing primitive about this gun. What is it?
Well, this is a muzzleloading slug rifle, and this is about as high-tech as you can get when it comes to muzzleloading. It shoots a conical bullet instead of a ball, and they're a very accurate rifle.
Well, it's designed for long-range competition.
Very long-range shooting. We shoot 100, 200, and 300 yards in the aggregate. You've got to pretty well keep everything in the bullseye to win in these matches here. We use a loading tube to put the powder in the bottom of the gun. We don't want it on the sides of the gun. Pour the powder in.
Hold on.
We use a cross paper patch to wrap the bullet. Our bullet don't actually touch the barrel. The paper is the only thing that touches the barrel. Your bullet goes in, paper around the bullet, bullet starter to push the bullet through the choke. Then we have another rod. We load the bullet in the bottom, and the gun's ready to fire then.
Of course, not every muzzleloader is as accurate as Webb's unique bench rest rifle. But even original style muzzleloaders can put a ball in the bullseye all day long.
They're very accurate. They don't really have the long range capabilities of the modern firearm, but for normal distance, hunting distance and everything, is very accurate, very accurate.
When you're shooting good, and everybody has their good days and their bad days, you can lay a dime or a quarter over 3 or 4 bullet holes at 25 to 50 yards. The accuracy of the muzzleloader is much, much better than people give them credit for. Plus, they're fun to shoot.
Muzzleloading guns aren't only surprisingly accurate, often they're surprisingly beautiful. Works of art, really, reflecting the artistic and creative skills of early American gunsmiths.
The best grade London gun had fine finishing inside and out. They didn't spare a nickel because the people who bought them were prepared to pay just like we are.
It's an 8 gauge, would have been 1860 to 1870. That was what was referred to as a trade gun. The Indians used to get a hold of these things, decorate them up with beads and so forth, but they're basically a renovated musket is what they are.
The carving and engraving on many of these muzzleloaders reflected the individual taste of local gunsmiths or reflected popular themes of the day. All were created by simple hand tools. Today, the skills and workmanship of those early gunsmiths are kept alive by master gunsmiths such as Ron Ayler. Oh, that's going to be pretty. Ron, this Kentucky, Pennsylvania rifle is uniquely American, as we know. We created it. But what is it that really makes it different?
Well, in comparison to European pieces, they were much heavier and larger caliber, and quite often more artistically designed. The American piece was lighter in weight, smaller caliber to use less lead, and it evolved its own basic characteristics that was truly American.
Mm-hmm. And these things are accurate too, aren't they?
Very accurate. In the hands of a good shooter, they're just as accurate as a modern rifle would be with the same sighting equipment.
Well, a flintlock rifle really is basically pretty simple.
Very simple. You know, basically the old line of lock, stock, and barrel really makes up the muzzleloading rifle. They were made truly as a tool for food gathering and survival. The beauty with carving, engraving, and so forth developed after the Revolutionary War, when there was a overcrowded market of gunsmiths without any military work to do and so forth. And so it was their idea to enhance them, and usually the prettier gun got sold the quickest.
Well, Ron, there's no getting around the fact that the Kentucky rifles have been works of art over the years, and it looks like this one is going to be one too.
Thank you very much.
Muzzleloading guns established a great tradition of shooting sports in America. The most popular today, trap shooting. So stay tuned and we'll be right back with the Super Bowl of trap shooting events, the Grand American. For 10 days every August, Vandalia, Ohio becomes the mecca for trap shooters from throughout the United States and Canada. In fact, before a few major marathon races began attracting well over 10,000 runners at a time, this competition here on the home grounds of the Amateur Trap Shooting Association was America's biggest single sporting event, drawing more participants to one location than any other competition of any kind in the country. Of course, the Grand American is still the largest shooting event in America, or for that matter, in the world. During the competition, over 5,000 shooters will fire at more than 4.5 million clay targets as they vie for top honors in the world of trap shooting. The competition takes place on 100 trap fields on a shooting line 1.5 miles long, with the action starting just after dawn and continuing well into the night.
But this is the World's Fair of trap shooting. It just brings us all together in world-class competition with the best there is in the sport.
The Grand to me is probably the ultimate in trap shooting. I just couldn't wait to get here. Like I said, this is my first Grand, and I'm really looking forward to it.
The Grand's the epitome of the shooting events. It's the greatest participation sport in the world, except for the marathon.
Grand American is basically the Wimbledon of trap shooting. It's along those same lines. It's that much prestige.
The Grand to me, it's like the biggest shoot. You know, everybody's here. It's fun. I like it.
Oh! The Grand is the greatest trap shooting event in the world.
Oh, it's the granddaddy of them all.
The Grand American is also one of the oldest sporting competitions in America, dating back to the turn of the century. And much of the colorful history of this game is contained here in the Amateur Trap Shooting Association's Hall of Fame Museum. The museum houses an extensive collection of early trap shooting memorabilia and captures the rich history of the sport, especially the early greats of the game such as Annie Oakley, perhaps the most famous sharpshooter of all time, and the great American composer John Philip Sousa, not only an avid competitor at many Grand American events, but also a man very much involved in the growth of the Amateur Trap Shooting Association and the development of the ATA's home ground here in Vandalia. Trap shooting, the game itself, may not have changed that much over the years, but they have been big improvements in equipment, from shot shells developed for trap shooting and the shotguns used in the sport, to the wide variety of targets, from the early glass balls to the clay birds of today, and to the trap machines that have launched so many millions of clay targets at gun clubs across America. The essential element, the heart and soul, if you will, of this game is a dome-shaped clay disc about 3.5 inches in diameter. Each trap field includes a single trap machine from which targets are thrown away from the shooters at varying angles, from hard lefts and hard rights to anything in between. Shooters compete in squads of 5, taking turns shooting from one of 5 stations located in a line 16 yards behind the trap. And each round consists of 25 targets. One of the real attractions of this game is that you don't need a lot of expensive equipment to shoot on the competitive or recreational level. Many field shotguns are suitable for trap when you're just starting off, and many trap guns don't cost much more than field guns. Beyond the shotgun, shooting glasses, hearing protection, and a shooting vest is all you need, and most all trap shooting clubs offer instruction for beginners. We'll be right back with more action from the Grand. Considering the size of this event, it should come as no surprise that trap shooting is, by far, America's favorite clay target shooting game. More than 1 million Americans shoot trap, from grandfathers to granddaughters and everybody in between. Whether sub-junior or senior veteran, everyone here at the Grand has come to shoot, and maybe even take home a trophy. But shooting is only a part of the Grand experience. For many of these shooters, the Grand has all the feel and flavor of a true homecoming event.
We have a good time. We come down, spend a week. My wife comes along, and we just make a vacation out of it. We don't expect to go home with all the marbles. It's just a good trip for us.
The thing I like about trap shooting is the people. They're just great. They're competitors, but they're friends.
We like the people. We like the fact that we can compete on an equal basis, men and women, and the fact that a husband and wife can compete together.
And if it has anything to do with trap shooting, from shooting glasses to the latest fashion in shooting vests, you'll find it at the Grand. And with the almost 5 million shots fired here, there's never a shortage of shot shells. Indeed, there are probably more boxes of shells right here at the ammo house than anywhere else in the world. And these days, you'll also find more and more women shooters stepping up to the line.
Probably being a lady, you have an advantage, because like I said, it's like a man's sport, so they pretty much get a little bit psyched out if you're out there and beat them especially.
Any age, you can look around here and see people that are in their 70s, 80s, 15, 16, and every age in between that can compete. And they have the opportunity to beat the very best in the world, particularly in the handicap events. And I've been coming 15 years to try and beat them all.
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
I'm from Anchorage, Alaska.
There are many, many events here at the Grand, but the biggest and most prestigious of all is the Grand American Handicap. And with me to help cover all the action is a fellow Sports Afield shooting editor and my son, Tom.
Thanks, Grits. It's good to be here. You know, this handicap race really is a unique competition. Over 4,500 shooters are out there right now, each shooting at 100 clay targets.
And shooting at 100 traps stretched out over 1.5 miles of the club ground.
Now, the handicap system used in trap shooting involves changing the location of the shooter on the trap field. The better the shooter's average, the farther he or she must stand behind the 16-yard line.
And the very best shooters must shoot from way back at 27 yards.
And that's tough.
Yeah. Now, this Grand American Handicap not only attracts the very best trap shooters in the country, but also avid competitors from every state. Men and women, young people, shooters of practically all ages.
This is my first year at the Grand. I'm a sub-junior and I shoot at the 18-yard line.
I've been coming here for 15 years. I'm a AA single shooter. I shoot from the 27-yard line, which is the furthest that you can shoot from, and I'm a AA double shooter.
I'm an A-class shooter, and I shoot from the 25-yard line in handicap.
This is my third year shooting at the Grand American, and I'm in the women's division, shooting from the 18-yard line in handicap.
I'm a A-class shooter, shoot from the 25-yard line, a C-class doubles.
This is my 16th Grand. We've been shooting for approximately 20 years, and I'm in D class in the 19-yard line.
You know, the handicap system puts everyone on an equal footing so that literally anyone can win this tournament.
That's true to an extent, but perfection is the norm with the top shooters in this game. If they miss a target, they're out.
Well, that's right for the top shooters. But in the other classes, the B and C class and the junior levels, these shooters can actually take home a trophy without breaking 100 straight.
You know, concentration is the name of the game in this sport. You know, in golf, they say that putting makes the difference. Well, then this one is concentration.
That's right. At the top level, these shooters have to break 100 straight. If they miss a single target, they're going to go home without a trophy.
In most sports, you can recover if you have a bobble. If you're in tennis, you can lose a set, you can still come back.
Right, in golf, if you make a bogey, you can make a birdie on the next hole and still recover. But out here, it's 100 straight or you're not in it.
With as many good shooters as we've got at the Grand, it's not at all unusual to have more than one perfect score, leading to a shoot-off at the end of the day. One of the things I like about trap shooting is that you can be competitive with almost any shotgun. A man can take his field shotgun out here and do pretty well with it.
That's right, there's everything on the line, from pumps to automatics to single shots and double barrels.
Drama in sports often comes from the unexpected, the twist and turn that leaves the odds makers shaking their head. Everybody here expected that more than a few hundred straights would be shot in the Grand American Handicap race today, but a strong and gusty wind that made the targets jump and dive played havoc with the scores of top shooters who had to shoot from way back on the 27-yard line. This opened the door for some of the lower handicap shooters, and Mark Wade, a young shooter from Kenilworth, New Jersey, took full advantage of the situation and was the only shooter out of more than 4,500 to run all 100 targets. Mark, congratulations.
Thank you, Grits.
What did the wind do to your targets out there today?
Well, the wind blew the targets around considerably. It made it very difficult to shoot.
Well, when you were going down the line, when did you think you had a chance to win it?
Well, coming out of the third trap, I said to myself, this could be the day, but then I also told myself that I needed to get right back into the program and shoot the targets one at a time.
Well, you won the top handicap prize that may be worth almost $40,000. So just want to welcome you to the ranks of the top trap shooters in the country. That is marvelous.
Thank you very much.
So there you have it, one of the great stories of the Grand American Handicap. I know that Mark will be shooting a lot of trap in the years to come, but I'm sure this is one day he will never forget. And I hope that you don't forget to join us next time when we cover more of the color and action of the shooting sports in America.
The Shooting Sports America, brought to you by Ruger, Thompson Center, and Sports Afield magazine.